10 of the longest-lasting motorhomes ever built are selling for pennies. Not because they're bad, but because the market stopped rewarding durability. These rigs were built to run for hundreds of thousands of miles. And here's where it gets worse. Dealers don't highlight them, marketing ignores them, and most buyers never ask the right questions. So the prices keep dropping while the drivetrains keep going. Today, we're exposing the 10 cheapest motorhomes that last forever, the million-mile beasts hiding in plain sight. Fleetwood Bounder. This one earned its reputation the slow way, mile after mile, year after year. While flashier rigs cycled through owners and repair bays, this platform just kept showing up on highways, campgrounds, and service records across the country. Not because it was beautiful, because it was usable. The Fleetwood Bounder gas models built before 2016 were designed during a period when simplicity still mattered. Fewer integrated electronics, fewer proprietary systems, more off-the-shelf components that any independent shop could service without waiting weeks for approval or parts. That design choice matters more than most people realize. These rigs were built on proven gas chassis platforms with engines designed for delivery routes, not showrooms. Oil changes were simple. Cooling systems were oversized. Suspension parts were widely available. When something wore out, it could be replaced instead of reprogrammed. Here is the financial angle most miss. These Bounders were produced in high volume. That flooded the secondary market with parts, used panels, salvaged components, aftermarket replacements. That abundance kept repair costs predictable, even as the rigs aged. Predictability is longevity's quiet partner. Service records from independent shops regularly show these units crossing 200,000 miles with original drivetrains. Some pushed past 300,000 with routine maintenance. No miracles, no hype, just steady use. Depreciation tells the rest of the story. A Bounder that sold new for $150,000 often trades hands decades later for under $25,000, yet its core systems remain serviceable. That gap between purchase price and remaining utility is where durability becomes financial protection. This is not an RV built to impress neighbors. It was built to be lived in. Cabinets were sturdy, layouts were practical, systems were accessible. When something broke, it was usually visible, understandable, and fixable. That is why so many of these are still running quietly today. Not because they were perfect, because they were honest. And next, the story shifts, because the next rig on this list did not just survive age, it survived neglect. Winnebago Brave. Long before touchscreens took over dashboards, this machine was already proving its worth. It did not rely on trends or clever marketing. It relied on structure, weight, and discipline in how it was built. The Winnebago Brave comes from an era when overbuilding was normal, not expensive. Thick wall construction, straightforward wiring, mechanical systems that could be understood with a flashlight and patience. That philosophy is why so many of these RV units are still moving decades later. Underneath, the Brave used proven gas drivetrains designed for commercial duty. These engines were never pushed for peak output. They were tuned for consistency, heat tolerance, long service intervals. That restraint is why service logs often show 200,000 miles without catastrophic failure. Another quiet advantage was layout restraint. Interiors were not overloaded with slide mechanisms or fragile motors. Less movement meant less stress. Fewer seals meant fewer leaks. That simplicity reduced long-term repair exposure in a way spreadsheets rarely capture. Financially, the story is blunt. Original prices that once crossed $100,000 have collapsed into ranges below $20,000 today. Yet core systems still function. Plumbing runs are accessible. Electrical paths are visible. Replacement parts remain available because Winnebago standardized components across multiple lines. Mechanics still recognize these rigs. That matters. Familiarity lowers labor time. Lower labor time protects cash. It also means repairs get done instead of postponed until problems compound. Mileage records from owner groups regularly show Braves exceeding 300,000 miles with disciplined maintenance, not showroom survivors. Working survivors, the kind that sat through heat, cold, and neglect, then kept going. This RV was never subtle. It was square, it was heavy, it was unapologetic, and that honesty became its shield against time. That legacy still protects owners from financial regret today. Next, durability leaves nostalgia behind and steps into diesel territory, where frames stretch longer and engines think in decades, not years. If this breakdown is already saving you money, support the work. Like the video, subscribe for future lists, and share your perspective in the comments. It helps surface experiences, keeps research coming, and makes sure people see information dealerships hide. Monaco Diplomat. Diesel changes the math immediately. The sound is different, the weight is different, the expectations are different. From the first mile, this platform was never pretending to be light-duty or disposable. The early Monaco Diplomat was built around one idea: continuous travel. Not weekends, not seasons. Long routes measured in states, not exits. That intention shaped every decision underneath the skin of this RV. These diesel models sat on heavy commercial-grade chassis with engines designed to idle for hours and pull for days. Torque arrived early and stayed steady. Cooling systems were oversized by design. Heat was treated as an enemy to be managed, not ignored. What matters financially is how that engineering ages. Diesel engines thrive on use. They resist short-trip decay. When maintained, they stretch past 400,000 miles without drama. Many cross 500,000 before serious internal work appears. Owners learned quickly that interiors age faster than drivetrains. Cabinets fade, fabrics wear, yet the core keeps moving. That imbalance is not a flaw. It is an opportunity. Cosmetic repairs cost thousands. Engine replacements cost tens of thousands. The Diplomat flipped that equation. Parts availability played a role too. Monaco sourced widely used diesel components. Filters, belts, pumps, and suspension parts remained available through independent suppliers. No exclusive lock-ins. No forced dealership visits. Depreciation reveals the truth. Units that sold new near $200,000 now trade far below $40,000. Yet, the mechanical lifespan remains largely intact. That gap is not luck, it is diesel arithmetic. Service technicians respect these rigs. Familiar layouts, logical access panels, clear service paths. Respect lowers labor hours. Labor hours protect savings. This RV was never gentle. It was built to move, to keep moving, to ignore distance and focus on durability. And from here, the story tightens, because the next machine doubled down on structure, even as the industry chased features instead afterward alone. Holiday, Rambler, Endeavor. Strength does not announce itself. It shows up quietly, year after year, without asking for attention. That was the guiding idea behind this machine, and it explains why it still earns respect long after newer builds faded. The Holiday Rambler Endeavor was engineered with the frame as the priority. Before finishes, before features, before trends, the structure came first. Boxed steel rails, reinforced crossmembers, a foundation designed to resist flex over hundreds of thousands of miles. That rigidity matters more than most people realize. Flex creates cracks. Cracks invite water. Water destroys value. By minimizing movement, this RV reduced the slow damage that ends many rigs early. Power came from proven diesel platforms, tuned for endurance rather than speed. These engines were happiest at steady revolutions, running cool, pulling consistently. Service intervals were long. Wear was predictable. Predictable wear is manageable wear. Ownership records tell the story clearly. Many Endeavors passed through multiple hands while retaining original drivetrains beyond 300,000 miles. Interiors were refreshed. Components were replaced. The core remained intact. Depreciation again reveals the opportunity. Original pricing that reached near $180,000 now trades at a fraction of that. Yet, the frame does not depreciate at the same rate as upholstery. Buyers paid for structure once, then benefited for decades. Another advantage, often overlooked, was service access. Panels were placed logically. Systems were labeled. Technicians did not have to dismantle half the coach to reach basic components. Labor time stayed reasonable. That restraint protected wallets over the long haul. This RV never chased attention, it chased miles. It was built to age slowly, to wear evenly, and to forgive mistakes. And as this list moves forward, the next entry proves that sometimes the longest-lasting machines are the ones that chose simplicity over size. That lesson matters now, because complexity keeps getting cheaper, while durability keeps getting rarer with each passing model year. Lazy Daze Class C. Some machines survive because they avoid complexity entirely. This one took that path deliberately, and it explains why so many examples still appear on roads decades later without drama. The Lazy Daze Class C followed a philosophy most manufacturers abandoned. One-piece molded fiberglass construction, minimal seams, minimal openings, fewer places for water to enter, and fewer excuses for rot to begin. That single decision protected value more than any feature package ever could. Underneath, these RV units rode on proven cutaway chassis designed for commercial service. Engines were tuned conservatively. Cooling systems were generous. Nothing was pushed to impress. Everything was selected to endure repetition. Owners often describe the same pattern: paint fades, upholstery wears, yet structural integrity remains untouched. No swollen walls, no hidden moisture damage. That absence of problems is the real asset. Financially, the math is revealing. Original pricing sat far below high-end coaches, yet resale stability remained unusually strong. Many units retain value better than newer, more complex builds, because repair risk stays low. Low risk protects cash. Mileage records regularly show 200,000 miles without structural intervention. Some pass 300,000 while still retaining factory fiberglass shells. Repairs stay mechanical, not existential. Another overlooked advantage was parts independence. Appliances were standard. Systems were generic. Replacement components could be sourced without manufacturer dependency. That freedom lowered downtime and cost. This RV never pretended to be modern. It never chased slide counts or electronics. It focused on keeping weather outside and systems accessible inside. That restraint paid dividends year after year. People who owned them often kept them longer than planned. Not from nostalgia, from trust. Trust built slowly, reinforced by every trouble-free mile. And now the list pivots again, because the next survivor earned its reputation not through minimalism, but through endurance under abuse few owners would ever tolerate. That lesson matters as designs grow fragile and repair bills climb steadily. Winnebago Winnie. Rental abuse is a brutal test. Constant handoffs, cold starts, missed maintenance. If a machine survives that environment, longevity is not a theory. It is proven. The Winnebago Winnie earned its reputation the hard way. Rental fleets chose it because downtime cost money. Every hour parked was lost revenue. That pressure forced manufacturers to deliver something that simply worked. These RV units were built on dependable cutaway chassis meant for delivery routes and service vehicles. Engines were not exotic. They were common, understressed, and easily serviced. Cooling systems were robust. Transmissions were familiar to mechanics everywhere. What matters financially is repetition. Rental units rack up miles fast. Many Winnies crossed 150,000 miles in just a few seasons. Some exceeded 200,000 before leaving fleet service. That kind of mileage exposes weaknesses quickly. The fact that many survived says everything. After rental life, private owners benefited. Systems were known, parts were everywhere. Manuals were clear, nothing was hidden or proprietary. Repairs stayed predictable. Predictability protects cash. Depreciation again reveals the advantage. These rigs entered the secondary market already discounted. Prices often fell below $30,000, while core drivetrains remained healthy. Buyers paid less upfront and faced fewer surprise failures later. Structural integrity also played a role. Slide counts were modest. Roof designs were straightforward. Water intrusion issues were easier to detect and address early. That saved thousands over time. This RV was not delicate. It was used hard, and it kept going. That kind of proof carries more weight than marketing promises. Owners who understand this history treat these machines differently. They maintain them. They budget rationally. They avoid regret. And as this countdown continues, the next machine steps into heavier territory, where diesel platforms and long-haul thinking reshape what durability really means. That transition reminds everyone that weight, torque, and patience often decide which designs survive when others quietly disappear over time. Coachman Catalina. Sometimes durability comes from modest expectations rather than ambition. That philosophy shaped this machine, and it explains why it aged better than many higher-priced competitors. The Coachman Catalina Older Class A models were built during a period when value meant restraint. Systems were chosen because they worked, not because they impressed. Layouts were conventional. Access was practical. Nothing was hidden behind unnecessary panels. These RV platforms relied on proven gas drivetrains that mechanics understood immediately. Parts were common. Repairs were routine. When issues appeared, they were mechanical, not electronic mysteries. That simplicity reduced downtime and kept costs measurable. The financial story matters here. Original prices stayed below many premium brands, often around $130,000. Today, many trade hands under $25,000 while remaining usable. That spread between cost and remaining life is where quiet value lives. Mileage logs from owner groups regularly show 200,000 miles without drivetrain replacement. Some units exceed that mark with basic care. Interiors show age. Frames do not. That imbalance favors owners willing to refresh surfaces rather than replace foundations. Another advantage was weight discipline. These rigs avoided extreme slide counts and heavy add-ons. Less stress meant fewer structural failures. Roof lines stayed simpler. Water intrusion was easier to monitor and correct early. This RV was never marketed as indestructible. It earned that reputation by surviving real use. Long trips, storage seasons, inconsistent attention. It endured because it was understandable. People who bought these later often discovered something unexpected. Ownership anxiety stayed low. Expenses arrived predictably. Repairs rarely escalated into crises. That calm ownership experience is the true legacy here. And next, the countdown shifts again, because the remaining machines did not just survive normal use, they survived relentless travel, pushing endurance into territory few designs ever reach. Those final entries prove longevity is engineered deliberately, not advertised loudly, and earned slowly through disciplined construction and real miles. If you want clear breakdowns like this before everyone else catches on, subscribe now. These lists take time, research, and pattern tracking. Subscribing keeps you ahead of bad buys, rushed decisions, and marketing noise that costs real money long term. Tiffin Allegro Open Road. Trust is not built in showrooms, it is built in service bays. After warranties fade and miles accumulate without excuses, the Tiffin Allegro Open Road from the early runs earned loyalty not through promises, but through response. When issues surfaced, they were acknowledged. When fixes were needed, they were available. That reputation matters more than brochures ever could. These RV units were built with straightforward gas powertrains and conservative system layouts. Nothing exotic, nothing experimental. Components were chosen because they had history. History lowers risk. Risk controls long-term cost. One defining factor was manufacturer support. Parts catalogs stayed open. Technical guidance remained accessible. Independent shops were not locked out. That kept labor simple and repairs timely. Mileage records show many of these units exceeding 200,000 miles, with original engines and transmissions. Wear appeared gradually, not catastrophically. That gradual decline allowed owners to plan instead of panic. Depreciation again tells the truth. Early open road models that once sold near $150,000 now change hands at fractions of that, often below $30,000. Yet functionality remains intact. That imbalance favors disciplined owners. Interior designs leaned practical. Cabinets were solid, systems were reachable, slide mechanisms were restrained. Fewer moving parts meant fewer surprises. What separated this RV was accountability. When problems emerged, they were addressed rather than denied. That culture reduced long-term damage and preserved trust across decades. Owners speak of confidence, not excitement. Confidence that a trip would finish, confidence that a repair would not spiral. That emotional stability is rare in this market. It rewarded patience, punished shortcuts, and quietly taught owners that durability is not loud, fast, or fashionable, but slow, repeatable, and rooted in decisions made long before the first mile was driven by disciplined engineers with foresight alone. And next, the list enters territory where commercial-grade engineering replaces recreation entirely, proving some platforms were never meant to stop moving. Newmar Dutch Star. The moment weight settles onto a commercial-grade chassis, everything changes. The road feels different. The engine works differently. Time itself seems to stretch. That is the environment this machine was designed for. The Newmar Dutch Star from the early 2000s was never meant to be light duty. It was engineered for sustained travel, long distances, and constant use without apology. That intent shows in every structural decision beneath the floor. These RV units rode on heavy diesel platforms designed to run all day, every day. Engines were built for torque at low revolutions. Cooling systems were oversized. Heat management was deliberate. Wear was expected, then controlled. Mileage histories from long-term owners regularly show 400,000 miles without major drivetrain replacement. Some crossed 500,000 before serious internal work appeared. That level of endurance does not happen by accident. Financially, the depreciation curve is revealing. Original prices often exceeded $200,000. Today, many trade below $50,000, yet the mechanical lifespan remains largely untouched. Interiors age, frames do not. That imbalance creates opportunity. Cosmetic updates cost thousands. Structural failures cost tens of thousands. The Dutch Star placed longevity where it mattered most. Another advantage was conservative system integration. Plumbing routes were logical. Electrical systems were documented. Access panels were planned. Technicians did not guess. Guessing costs money. Owners describe confidence rather than excitement. Long grades felt controlled. Long days felt manageable. Trips extended without anxiety. That emotional calm is a product of engineering discipline. This RV was never trendy. It never needed to be. It earned loyalty by finishing journeys others would hesitate to start. And now only one remains, because the final entry was never designed as a recreational vehicle at all. It was designed to run endlessly, then adapted to living space later. That distinction matters more than price, more than brand, and more than any feature list ever could. Prevost Conversion. Nothing about this machine began as recreation. It began as transportation, long routes, daily schedules, continuous operation measured in years, not seasons. That origin explains everything that followed. These platforms started life as commercial passenger coaches, built to run all day, built to idle for hours, built to cross countries repeatedly without complaint. Only later were they transformed into living space, wrapped in comfort instead of stripped for efficiency. The core never changed. Massive frames, heavy axles, air suspension designed for constant load, diesel engines engineered for duty cycles that ordinary RV designs never experience. That difference shows up in mileage logs that seem unreal until you see them repeatedly. It is not uncommon to find these units surpassing 1 million miles, with original engines still operating within service tolerance, not rebuilt, not replaced, maintained. That distinction matters. Financially, the story flips expectations. New conversions once commanded prices beyond $500,000. Today, older entry-level builds can be found near $100,000, sometimes less. The shell remains the asset. Interiors become optional. That structure resists time. Steel does not fatigue the way lightweight frames do. Air systems age predictably. Mechanical systems were designed to be rebuilt, not discarded. Rebuildable design protects long-term ownership. Service access was never an afterthought. Commercial regulations demanded accessibility. Technicians reach components quickly. Labor hours stay reasonable despite complexity. Owners describe a different confidence. Long climbs feel steady. Crosswinds feel muted. Long days feel manageable. That calm comes from mass, balance, and engineering. This RV was built to move passengers safely, repeatedly, relentlessly. Living space came later. Strength came first. That is why it earns the top position. Not because it is cheap, but because it refuses to quit. Before you go, drop a comment and tell us which motorhome surprised you the most, or which one you'd actually trust for the long haul. If this breakdown helped you avoid an expensive mistake, hit like so more people see it. And subscribe if you want honest, no-hype breakdowns before the rest of the market catches on.